Hello, welcome to Noetic Bloom, where I discuss mental wellness and autonomous change. First, I'd like to say a couple things. One being, my phone took a big steaming dump on me, and it is currently at the store being repaired. So I'm using my old phone, so I hope the quality isn't much worse. I know it wasn't great with my current phone anyway. Um, but I am now using a microphone, so I hope that the sound quality is much better. Two, I realized that my intro video and my self-awareness video were very choppy. That's because I'm still getting my sea legs, so to speak. I'm getting used to this, and there was a lot of dead air that I had to cut out from my nervousness, and I expect that's something I'll have to deal with for a while. So please just bear with me. This is something that's going to have to take a while to get used to, I imagine, especially having to stare at myself all the time, which is incredibly uncomfortable for me. So yes, please give me some time to find my footing. And I'm sure I'm gonna screw up a bunch with this mic. I will, I'll try to pay attention to the distance at which it will sound the best. Try to keep myself there. Now on to today's quote. I couldn't help myself. I found yet another from my boy, Marcus Aurelius, that seems to fit perfectly in with today's topic. Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears. Today's discussion is on the topic of victim mentality. What exactly is victim mentality? Merriam-Webster describes it as the belief that one is always a victim, the idea that bad things will always happen to one. That's succinct. It's nice. It gets to the point, but I prefer the one from WebMD. It's a little long, but it goes more into depth. Someone who has a victim mentality claims everything that happens to them is the fault of others. They constantly complain about the bad things that happen in their lives. They don't take responsibility, asserting that the circumstances are not in their control. People who have a victim mentality have usually suffered through trauma or hard times, but haven't developed a proper way to cope. As a result, they develop a negative view of life. Because they don't think anything is their fault, they have little or no sense of responsibility for their life. It just happens to them. Now, I've met many people, some of whom I know well, that fall into this category. I even found myself there at some point. And when I realized what was happening, it didn't feel good at all. And that's a very good thing. At some point, I heard myself making excuse after excuse, placing blame upon blame on others unfairly, and I felt so embarrassed. I was overwhelmed with shame at my continuous uselessness. I knew I had to take responsibility and change. It isn't an easy thing to do to take on the full weight of all your problems. That's why most people, or many people, don't do it. But you should do it, because it is just. And what I mean by that is, it is not justice to condemn others for things that you may have taken part in. It's unjust to place the full blame on everyone else but yourself. It makes you appear weak. It doesn't even just make you appear weak, it actually does make you weaker. It makes your mind weaker. If everything bad that happens in your life is everyone else's fault, then you don't need to change. You don't need to get stronger. You don't need to do any work on yourself, because by this logic, you are a perfect human being that does no wrong. And also by this logic, if you are constantly being victimized, that implies that you are constantly open for attack. If someone punches you in the face every day, and you keep letting them punch you in the face every day, that implies that you don't put up a fight. If you don't put up a fight, you will be victimized and taken advantage of at every opportunity. That is a simple rule of life. Something that bothered me much more than anything else, that I hope bothers you too if you find yourself guilty of this behavior. Do you have a passive role in your own life? Are you stuck to a wall, just waiting for the next thing to happen to you? Are you an autonomous human being or are you not? Do you have control over your life or don't you? The fact is, this mindset is not only valuable these days, as victimization of oneself seems to hold some sort of social currency, but alongside that, it releases you from having to recognize any of your own faults. And this can be very pleasing for many people. But victim mentality can also be very dangerous. It can be very dangerous in that many people self-medicate to stave off the pain, bitterness, the negative feelings they hold towards the people that wronged them or that they view wronged them. This can, and very often has, led to severe consequences. See, if you try to see what you've done wrong, instead of always seeing what everyone else does wrong and does to you, your anger and bitterness will only be with yourself. And that, for many people, is a lightning rod of motivation for change. I know it was for me. I would like to make a point here about people that live with abusers. I understand and appreciate that many people in this world live with someone or people that abuse them. I have known many people in this situation, as I'm sure you have. Maybe it was you. But abusive people won't stop abusing you. Abusers never stop abusing unless they take it upon themselves to change, which is really unusual, largely because many of them have a victim mentality themselves. It's your fault, right? Not theirs. So why would they stop abusing you? It's an unfortunate fact of life that some people have the incredible misfortune of being housed with someone that abuses them. But if you want to live a life worth living, you can't let this destroy you. You can't let that be all your life is. Of course, it isn't your fault if you're being abused. Of course, this is a tragedy, and there are too many people in this world that enjoy making people feel weak and powerless and holding power over the heads of the vulnerable. But what are you supposed to do about that? Especially if you're an underage person. How can you change the outcome of your day? I've seen too many situations in which nothing happens to the abuser. No matter what. No matter how many times the cops are called. If they go to jail, many times they get released pretty soon afterwards for whatever reason. So what can you do? The only thing you can do is take responsibility for what you can control. It may not be much, but when you figure out what it is you can control and how you can use those things to your advantage, that's one step towards freedom. It is freeing to take responsibility for yourself. I don't think enough people realize that. It is freeing to take responsibility for the state of your life because that means you can fix it. By stopping yourself from blaming everyone else around you for everything that is wrong with your life, you are saying, I am in control. This is my life. I am free. And mental freedom is the pinnacle of human power. Today's advice. The next time you feel the urge to blame someone else for a trouble of yours, think of a way in which it can be considered your fault. If you can, try to do that every time you find yourself blaming everyone but yourself for an issue in your life. It's not okay to blame yourself unnecessarily for everything in your life, and that's not what I mean to do here. But in my experience, it did much more for me than blaming everyone else ever did. So, I'd like for you to create a happy balance in your life, if you can. Blaming myself was the first real step to changing myself. So try not to overdo it, but recognize that you have a hand in your own problems. Everything, surely, cannot be everyone else's fault but your own. Unfortunately, none of us are faultless. That's it for today. Keep trying, guys. Godspeed.